All right, well, morning. Glad you guys could join us. Welcome to the Lunch and Learn Conflict Resolution Workshop. I wouldn't even call it a workshop. I think it's just a little bit of just kind of touching on some key things about conflict, right? Just a little bit about myself. I've been doing counseling for 11 years now, mainly marriage counseling. Recently, been doing some leadership care and counseling. Pastors, missionaries, ministry leaders, people who lead other people. Just kind of walk alongside them. If there's a crisis, I'm there to help them with it. And then if there any relational struggles that they're going through, that's kind of how I get involved with people's lives. Organizations hire me to help with people management, coaching, performance issues, and so even just training their managers and their leaders to support the goal and the vision of the company. So, with that, I'm married, 20 years this year. We're empty nesters. We have 2 children, adult children, and we like to have fun, and we like to serve, and we like to give, and so that's a little bit about me. Enough of that. So let me get into the conflict. So today what I want to kind of touch on is what is conflict, right? And we have a disagreement. We are in opposition over a path or a direction or a decision that we need to make. And so in our time today, what I want to do is focus on as far as our side of the conflict, like what are we bringing to the conflict? What are some of the things that we're not aware of that we may be causing the conflict? Those are some of the things I want to touch on a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is cover a tool that I share with the people that I care for, a tool that would help an individual or 2 or more parties work through a disagreement, right? And so this may not be on-the-spot disagreement that I'm trying to help you resolve, even though the information I'm going to share with you, you'd be able to use that information on the spot, like in a heated exchange or something, right? So a lot of times, again, we're going to focus more on what we bring to the conflict. And I'm going to talk about a couple concepts or ideas that would help you manage the conflict. So we talked about what is conflict. There's an opposition. Two or more people decide we want to go left. One wants to go right. One wants to get this. The other one wants to get that. And they can't seem to agree with, which one is right, which one should get what they're looking for, right? Now, with any conflict, one of the things we want to remember is it's all about the relationship. Most of the times, the reason why the conflict is there is not only because I'm not getting the product that I want, or I'm not getting the time that I want to spend with you, or when you're in the meeting with me yesterday, you said something, right? It's not just about those things. It's also about it's relational most of the times, and understanding what the desires are of the person, whether it's a customer, a client, a coworker, a spouse, a son, daughter, dad, mom, it doesn't matter, right? Just understanding what the desires of the person are, you can oftentimes work through the conflict, even if they don't get what they're wanting, right? And so if we look at conflict as relational mainly, then as the undercurrent of what may be going on, right? What are the desires? What are the things that they're not getting? And the things meaning when we end up in a conflict, there's a level of comfort that I no longer have with you. So we've lost trust, right? We're not seeing eye to eye. So because we're not seeing eye to eye, many times that brings distrust. So perspectives are important when it comes to conflict. You want to know what the perspectives are. You want to know what your perspective is. Because oftentimes when you're in a conflict situation, sometimes you don't know what you want, what your desires are. Meaning, so it may be over a cup, it may be over a product, it may be over time that you're not spending with the person that you're in conflict with. It may be over something that was said or done at a birthday party, right? And so you're engaging in this relationship or this event, let's call it the event called conflict, and you're not aware of what you're wanting. So this person, let's say they initiated the conversation, so Dane, you said this at the birthday party, and I don't like that, and whatever, they keep going, and then so now you start to respond. Now, why are you responding? Some of the questions that you probably want to ask. What is it that you're wanting now that this conflict situation is going on? If you don't know what you want, then it's very hard for you to resolve the conflict. Some people think conflict is resolved through giving the person what they want. But here's the problem with that. When the situation was presented, even if you gave them what they wanted right away, there's still an after effect of what's going on. The relationship has still been questioned. It's now in question, right? There are things that they're wondering, is this going to happen again, right? So you may give them the cup, or you might say, I'm sorry I said that at the birthday party. You may give them the product that they're wanting, whatever. But they're now wondering, so if this is going to happen one time, there's a high possibility that's happen again, right? So is the conflict resolved when you get what you want? That's another question I want to ask ourselves, right? Is the conflict resolved when you get what you want? The answer probably would be no. It might be my vote, right? Because there's a relational aspect to it, okay? So with that, let me get into the other part of it. How do you know the conflict is resolved? All right, now if it's between one or two people, if this person engaged with you and they're going, all right, you said this thing, you didn't give the product, you didn't do what you promised to do, or I didn't expect you to do this because I thought you respected me more than I thought you did. And now I'm questioning whether you respect me or not, right? So this thing happened, product didn't get delivered, whatever it is, and you say, okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it, or you go, well, here's the product. Okay, now, you bring things, like I said earlier, you bring things to the conflict as well. They're bringing things to the conflict. There's an underlying relational desire that's there, okay? And so now that you've given them the thing that they want, which may be an apology, which may be even saying, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I'm sorry that you didn't get the product on time. I'm sorry that I didn't send you the presentation on time. I'm sorry I threw you underneath the bus in the meeting, whatever it is, right? They're going, oh, thanks. But there's still this question for them. And then you might be asking yourself the question, when is this going to happen again? So let's say you make a mistake. They're now, let's say, maybe raising their voice at you. They're talking down to you. They're dismissing everything that you're saying. You also now have this question. So my coworker or my dad or my son or my friend or whoever it is, you can, stick whoever that person is, that role player, let's call it. Are they going to do this again? So again, most of the times I don't believe people wake up in the mornings to hurt others. I don't believe that people wake up in the morning to go, today I'm going to make sure my employees get the worst day ever. I'm going to make sure I disobey my boss. I'm going to make sure I hurt my spouse. I'm going to make sure I disrespect my child. I'm going to make sure I talk down to my mom or my dad. I don't think that we wake up with that intention. So there's a lot of things that happen between that time when you wake up and when you actually did the thing. It could be a mistake. It could be a simple thing as, I said something I shouldn't have, right? So understanding what you bring to the conflict and understanding what they're wanting from you relationally is extremely important to understanding how if and when the conflict is resolved. Okay? So what is it that they're wanting? What is that they're desiring? And also, what is it that you're wanting? Because true conflict resolution only happens when both parties have decided or concluded that the conflict is resolved. Okay? Now, here's the other part of that. There's some that you won't be able to resolve. There's some things, some conflict that you run into, some disagreement in how we should go, what we should do, what's the right steps. And we're not going to get to a place where we're going to say, you know what, I'm ready to work this out with you. One or two people might, role players in a conflict might say, I'm not going to work it out. We're just going to let it lie. Is it resolved? I don't think it is. Even if we say, we're just going to let it lie. Because there's still this thing between you two, right? So there's a thing called managing the conflict, which we won't get into too much, but now you're going to have to think through, now that we have gotten to the spot where we're just not going to be able to work through it between us, then I may need to manage the relationship and manage the conflict while we're in a place where we're not going to work on it, right? So for me, if I'm wanting the conflict to be resolved, and it can't be, let's say, because the other person is going, I don't want it to resolve, basically. I don't want to work it out with you. Then now I would have to now learn and go into another aspect of conflict, which would be managing it. Okay? So that may mean being careful of what I say, being careful of how I feel, understanding, being aware of what I'm feeling, right? Being aware of what I'm thinking about the person, right? And so I won't go into that too much, but understand that not all of them may be able to resolve, because like I said, conflict resolution is largely about relationship, not necessarily about the thing, whatever the thing is that was said or done, or the thing that's not happening, okay? All right, so I'm going to keep going. I want to go through a couple things, and I'll give an opportunity to ask questions if we need to. And then we're going to go through a scenario using the tool that I'm about to talk about. Okay? All right. So we're going to go to the spot where we're going to pretend like they want to work it out. Right? Like they're going, you know what, I don't really want to work with you the way things are that between us, so I want to work it out. In a relationship, again, between husband and wife, father and son, son, daughter, mother, daughter, you name it, all the combinations in the family unit. Co-worker, again, even with a client, right? So they're saying, okay, I'm willing to come to the table, and so this is a tool that now you can introduce to them to start to work through the tool. Now, I'm going to go through it, and I'll talk just a little bit about each step, and then I'm going to go through it again, just so that we have a good understanding of it, okay? All right. So this is going to happen through conversation. So you have to turn the tool into a conversation piece, not just, step one, step two, do this, step three, do this, right? So this is a conversation piece. So that's why I'm going to cover it, in essence, twice. Okay. So the first thing, wanted to mention about the tool, number one is, what is the problem? Like, do we know what the problem is? So if I'm at the birthday party and my sister or my brother or my son, whoever it is, said something, okay? Oftentimes it's not about what was said, but it's maybe about the relational need that wasn't met in that time or when the person said what they said, right? Same thing with a coworker, right? You may have this contentious relationship with a coworker, and you've already apologized, but it still feels like there's tension between you and them. Because that tells you that it's a relational thing. It's not necessarily just what was done or what wasn't done. Same thing with the customer. If you have a personal client, a big customer, a large account, and you could tell every time you call, there's just this type of voice that you're hearing with the client, right? And you're like, okay, so now you may have to dive a little bit deeper. So what is the problem is a very important first step. Because remember, the problem can only be defined by both people. If one person defines the problem as in, I didn't get the cup you promised, and that's the problem. And then the other person going, well, you were disrespectful to me. The conflict won't be resolved if only the person that wanted the cup gets the cup. Because there's still this part of disrespect that has not been talked about, right? So again, conflict between two or more people. So you have to figure out, you have to find part of the conversation may be about defining what the problem is. And again, largely people won't trust you if they don't think that you're really wanting to resolve it. Because you're probably the fourth or fifth person that's disrespected them or failed to deliver on the thing in their life, whatever it is, right? So they're like, okay, I'm come to expect that people are going to betray me or they won't deliver what they're promising, right? So what you want to do is find out what the problem is. What is it that they see as the problem, and then what do you see as the problem? Now, in a client situation, because most of the times this is sort of like a one-way thing, again, giving them the product or taking care of the thing that you fail to do is not necessarily managing the conflict or resolving the conflict. That's just basically appeasing the person, right? So we're talking about conflict resolution. We're not talking about just delivering on the promise that you made a mistake about, right? So you may need to dive a little bit deeper. You may need to build some bridges before you can get them to tell you what actually the problem is. And you may hear something like, well, you're the fourth or fifth person that we have asked about the orange cup, and you're the fourth or fifth person that didn't deliver. So to me, that makes me think that you don't really care about me. Now that's the problem. You don't really care. And a matter of fact, the other four people that didn't deliver on the cup, they don't really care about us either, right? So now you get a better understanding of what the problem is because now you're going a little bit deeper. It's about making them feel important. Okay, all right. Now, the step 2 would be thinking through, again, in a customer standpoint or a client standpoint, you might want to think through what did you do to contribute to the problem? How did you contribute to the problem? Now, it may not just be about the cup, because most customers, I know from working in corporate America for over 15, 20 years, sometimes it's not just about your imperfection to deliver and what the promise is, but you just fail to communicate. You didn't follow up. One of the associates that work with you hung up on them. You know, all these other things may be the things that's contributing to the conflict that you find yourself in right now. So don't just assume just because it's, again, I'm using the orange cup because there's one in the room. Don't just use the orange cup as the only source of the conflict. What is contributing to the conflict, okay? So think through how you, and again, this works in relationships as well, in like your personal life, how are you contributing to the problem? Now, again, you'll be very surprised of what you hear. They may say, well, before you said what you said at the birthday party, you rolled your eyes at me. And you go, what? I don't recall, you're saying, you probably don't say that out loud. You don't recall rolling your eyes. But that was one of the things that contributed to them not feeling like they're important. You see it? So you might want to ask some questions about what ways are you contributing to the problem, okay? And then we're pretending in a way as we're using the tool is where this person is this client or your family member is coming to the table and wanting to resolve it. That means that they would also contribute to the problem. They may also say, you know what, I forgot to email you, or you know what, I shouldn't have raised my voice at you, right? So as you're thinking through ways that, you know, all the things that brought about the conflict, what's feeding it, right? That's another way to say it. Okay. Number 3 would be what we want to do is, this is where the relationships part of resolving the conflict now comes into play. If you get this person to start to tell you, again, we're just talking about this particular conflict, how many ways they have tried to resolve this and how many ways we have tried to resolve it. So for example, we may have come together and the first time it happened, it may be, I said I'm sorry, and then it happened again. And it just keeps happening. So the say I'm sorry didn't necessarily fix it. That's an attempt for me to fix the conflict, but it didn't solve it, right? It may also be in a family situation. It may be we went to go talk to a friend about the conflict that we're having, but we're still having it. It's still there. So that's another way. That's another thing that you've tried to resolve it, right? So so number 3 would be listing ways that you've tried to resolve it. Again, okay, and again, it could be we sold our house, but it still didn't work. Right? It could be we moved to Colorado, but that didn't work. Right? Okay, so that may be some things that you've tried. Okay, told your mom and it didn't work. Right? Right. I complained to your boss and it didn't work. Right? All those things. Okay. All right. Number 4. This is where the relationship aspect starts building, because there's an aspect of this tool that I'm sharing that when you use it properly, you can actually start to build a relationship as you're using the tool. So number 3 would be one way you start building the relationship. You generally want to know how they've tried to resolve it. The issue that they're having with you, ask them, is there something I'm missing that you've tried? Okay, and then you want to check yourself too and see, have you tried different things? Maybe an apology that you've tried, right? So number 4 would be, this is where the fun starts, and if you can do this right, this is where the depth starts happening in the relationship, reconnection starts happening, the relational desires and needs can start to happen, is when you're going to brainstorm possible solutions. So what you're doing is now you're inviting this person, who again, they're coming to the table and they're wanting to resolve it. You're inviting this person into the solution process. Okay, so again, if it's a customer, you can say, well, what if I did this? Would that help? Would that resolve this that's happening between us? What if I try to do this? What if I sent you an email? What if I did, come up with different things that, again, depending on the specific conflict that you're going through, okay? What are some possible solutions to the problem? Now this, again, you're not gonna shoot any one of these down, because again, here's the thing. If you have your family member, for example, your coworker comes to you, and you ask them this question, and you start to roll your eyes and when they start to suggest something, or you start to dismiss what they're saying at this stage, what you're actually doing is jeopardizing the relationship even more. What you're actually doing is saying, I don't really care about what you think. Right? I don't really. Matter of fact, that's a ridiculous idea. Right? I'll never do that. Right? Now, not at this stage. You don't want to be giving that feedback at this stage. It's brainstorming, and brainstorming is you're throwing possible solutions up on the board, if you will, or out, between us, and you're saying, let's put out 10 different things we could try to solve this. Okay? 10 different things we're going to try and see where we're going to pick the best one for us. Right? For coworker and let's say a family member, that to me, when you say we're going to pick the best one for us, you're telling them, hey, I really care about you and I want to be in a relationship with you. Right? You're including them in the solution instead of going, here's what we're going to do. I get to pick what I want to do, and then you're going to have to live with the solution I brought to the table. And then basically what you're doing is telling them, I really care about what you say, what you think. I don't really care about you, my friend, right? Okay. Now, once you put all these out, then this is where the discussion happens now. So you're going to take each one of those, and you're going to have a conversation with the person that you're in conflict with to say, which one do you want to try? Which one of these ideas that we both put on the table, which we're going to try? Okay? And then you talk through each one individually. Don't talk through all of them all at once, okay? And then I'm on step 5, right? Or in step 5, what we're going to do is we're going to agree to try one. So we've talked about all the different possible solutions, and then now we're going to say, okay, let's go try one. Okay? Now again, just pick one. And the one that you pick doesn't mean that's the only one you're going to try. It just means that you're going to try one. Okay? And then the next step, what we're going to do is we're going to make sort of an agreement of what am I going to do to make sure that this solution works. Because if we're agreeing to try it and I sabotage it, right, or you sabotage it, then it's not going to work. And then we're going to go, oh, we tried everything possible, but it didn't work. Yeah, well, we didn't really try it because one of us was sabotaging the solution, right? Okay, and then the next step, what we're going to do, which is again part of the relationship building aspect, let's set up a time to follow up. So we brainstorm 10 things. We agree to try one. We agree we're gonna do what we can. We're gonna contribute to the solution that we picked, right? And then what we're gonna do is, this is where you probably want to pull out your calendar or your notebook or something and say, in 90 days, I want to have a conversation about this again. Or in 60 days, or 30 days, whatever, you pick it, right? Or get them to agree, right? Not your way, but get them to say, okay, I'm fine with having a conversation, 30 days from now, 60 days from now, about this thing that we just went through. Because here's the thing, with a customer, there's a chance that they may run into the same thing within that 90 days and never say anything. Research says that a lot of times when people are getting bad service, they don't tell you. Okay? So again, remember, it's not just about the thing, it's about the relationship is being strained between you and the customer, or you and the client. But you won't know unless you proactively ask, right? You want to ask, how are we doing? When you say we, I mean we, our relationship. How are we doing, right? So set up a time to follow up on the solutions that you've been trying between you and that other third or second, the other person. Okay. So going through it just kind of a lot quicker now. What we want to do is define the problem. That's one of the hardest things to do. We know that oftentimes it's not about what we think it is, right? It takes two people to define it. It's one problem between two people, right? And oh, by the way, you may have a different angle on it. Most of the times in family or marriage, when you're fighting, one of the reasons why the conflict is there, because you're fighting about two different things. Like this person wants respect and this person wants acceptance. Those are two different things, right? So now we're fighting over two different things and we can never get to a place where we're going to resolve it, right? So we need to define what it is. And if there's two things, then pick one and work through that one and pick the other one and work through that one. Don't try to work through both of them at the same time, okay? And then list ways that you contribute to the problem. We talked about that. List attempts. So the next one is list attempts, past attempts that you have made to try to resolve it. And again, this is where the relationship building now starts to happen more. Brainstorm possible solutions, discuss each one, and then agree to try one solution. And then how are you going to make sure that this solution comes to fruition, right? And then set up a time to discuss the solution. How is it going? The last thing you want to do is try to agree on a solution, and then the person feels stuck for the rest of their lives. Like they're like, oh my gosh, like I know I said yes to this, but it's been 90 days and this is not working out very well for me, right? So you want to leave that door open to say, hey, we can still talk about it, and if we need to shift gears, we can. It's not something that you're signing up for the rest of your life. Right? And yeah, so always remember that you bring something to the conflict. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? Also remember that conflict is oftentimes more about the relationship side versus what I'm getting, right, product or whatever it is. And so you want to address that, of course, but you want to also be aware that there's a relational part of it that you have to address. Because again, the question is this going to happen again? Most of the times, because it's happened once, it's probably going to happen again. So you want to keep building or rebuilding that relationship. Okay? All right, yeah, and that's, I'll leave it there. I have so much more to say about conflict, but I'm going to stop right there.